up, guys? Welcome back to today's video. Um, so today's video is gonna be baking. Um, I've been wanting to do a baking video for a bit. So today's the day. Um, People are sick in my house right now, so I figured cheer them up and make cookies. Um, so that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna make chocolate chip cookies. Um, we're gonna make chocolate chip cookies, and we're gonna make it together. So you guys see me baking. And so I have this cute little apron on, which my grandma got for me a few years ago. And it's from Think Kitchen. So. And the recipe I'm going to be using is from the website handletheheat.com. I'll put the link for it in the description. So if you guys want to make this recipe, it will be down there for you guys to click on. So let's start. I'm going to preheat my oven because it takes 20 minutes for your oven to preheat. And you should let your oven preheat as much as you can. So we're gonna preheat it at 350 Fahrenheit, so we'll go on bake. And now it's gonna preheat. I don't know what it is in Celsius. I'll try and write it in the comments. Different measurements, or you can like type it up on Google. So let's. Okay, so and I'm gonna get two baking sheet trays and get them a pairs of one. You can have one or two. I'm gonna take two out. We have two baking sheet trays. And I'm going light. I'm gonna put some parchment paper on each tray for the cookies. So I use this one from Costco. And this trick of ripping a parchment paper, take the paper out and you fold the thing inwards, so like this, so it's folded into the box, and you press down on the edge and you rip it like that. Maybe it's a bit small. Okay, maybe it's a bit small. You want at least to cover your whole pan, so a little longer. Again, so you don't need scissors anymore. Okay, so I have both of them lined. I'm just going to put more extra sheet on the one was very small. And there you go. And there you go. We have two lined baking sheets, trays. Okay, so those are go and ready to go for the cookie dough. So we're gonna grab a bowl. It doesn't have to be this kind of bowl. It can be of glass if you want. And we're gonna measure out the butter and the sugars first. So, so I'm using salted butter. You don't technically it's too. You don't have to use salted. It's more preferable to use unsalted. But if you do use salted, just be careful your salt component because you don't want it too salty. You know what I mean? So this is I took this out last night, so it's very soft. Which you want your butter to be at. You want it at room temperature and ready to use. So it's been out all night. So I'm just peeling off the paper because it's new. So do. Yeah. And people are in my house right now, so if you see people in my kitchen, in the kitchen, because I'm not alone. Okay, so there's this little measuring thing on the butter that helps measure the butter. So we need a cup, 1 cup of butter, which means it's probably half of the butter. So I'm gonna get a knife. Just a normal butter knife, and we're gonna make a little dent just to know where we're cutting, and then cut down. It's a lot of butter, but we need a cup of this, so which is a lot of butter. You can melt the butter if you want, but I'm going to just chop this up a bit into like cubes. my my hands my hands are so buttery. Okay, so that's the oven that just beeped. It's okay, just leave it. It got a little warmed up because of my brother, so I'm just cutting this big cube into little cubes and putting it into this bowl that I have. And it'll be easier to handle the butter when it's like not in a big ass cube. So I'm just cutting it into little wedges. Or if you were doing like sticks of butter, this calls for 2 sticks of butter. But I don't. I'm not using a stick. I'm using like literally a whole thing. So that all in there. This is salted, so I don't know if I'm gonna add any salt at all for this recipe because it's so salty. So I'm not gonna put any. But if yours is unsalted, please put butter. Salt. Okay, there's a lot of butter in here. Okay, so now that we have our cup of butter or 2 sticks of butter into our bowl, we're gonna add our sugars to the butter. So we need both brown and white for this recipe. So you need 1.5 a cup of white normal sugar. So I'm gonna do that. This is so full. So you need 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm just using my measuring. So 1/2 cup of sugar, white sugar, and you need 1.25 of brown. This is light brown. Well, it says lightly packed light brown sugar, so. But you can use dark sugar. It will just make this cookie a lot like sweeter and a lot more dense because brown sugar is a lot denser than white. So we need 1.25 cups of sugar. So we're gonna just take a spoon. I'm just like gathering the brown sugar and put it into our cup. And you want it packed. So I'm gonna put a cup in here and then pack it. And after we put our sugars, we're gonna blend the sugars and the butter together to start the cookie dough. Okay, so we have a cup. That's so much. 1 1/4 beyond. Okay, so I put both of the sugars in the bowl, and there's a lot of sugar. But, you know, what's sweet without no sugar? So we're gonna take your mixer, or if you have a KitchenAid, that's even better. But I don't, so I don't have that, so I have this mixer instead. Or you can do it by hand, but because the butter is not melted, it's a bit harder to do by hand. So I'm gonna use this hand mixer to blend this together. This is an old one. We've had this mixer for years. This is a Ultra Power Plus 7 KitchenAid mixer, but I'm sure they don't have these anymore because it's old. But they probably have similar updated versions. Anyways, so we're gonna blend this non-high. Just blend it till all the sugar and the butter has mixed. Okay. I'm going. So I did a bit of a mess. So because this bowl is very like not deep enough, I'm actually gonna do it by hand. So we're going to grab a spatula and we're just going to crush the butter and we're going to do it by hand. Or I'm going to do it by hand because there's so much like butter in here that the mixer is actually not. So I'm going to do this by hand, or as much as I can by hand. And yeah. Okay, so I mixed most of the butter. So we're going to help myself. We're gonna help this if you're doing it by hand. We're gonna help our arm not ache, and we're gonna add our eggs and vanilla. So I have 2 large eggs and I'm gonna crack both of them into this bowl because of eggshells. You don't want eggshells, so I'm gonna crack them in a separate bowl. Okay, that was a really bad. That was so bad. Okay, this egg caused a bit of problem because I got eggshells. This is why you should crack your eggs in a separate bowl because you don't know how your eggs are gonna crack, and sometimes you get a lot of eggshells, which just happened. So, anyways, I fixed it. Out of the way, we have no more eggshells. Oh, I'm gonna put them in there. Okay. Okay, so we have our eggs cracked in this bowl, and we're gonna add vanilla. And I mean, honestly, you don't have to measure vanilla. Of all things, vanilla is the least thing you should worry about. So I'm just gonna eyeball it, but you need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. But I'm just gonna eyeball. I'm gonna just put it in the egg. Just eyeball it. And I mean, if you put too much, who cares? Okay, I'm gonna put the eggs and vanilla in my bowl. And I'm gonna mix it together. And like the wet stuff is gonna help really mix this together. So if you're having trouble, just add the eggs and vanilla and work with that. And hopefully it'll be a little easier to mix. Usually I don't have butter whole, usually I melt it. So if it's easier for you to melt it, melt it. I'm gonna try my mixer again, just scrape off my spatula. To be careful. There's eggshells. And we're gonna do this. Okay. Now it's blending a lot better because of the wet ingredients in here. So I'm just mixing this together, making sure the butter gets combined and the eggs. Okay, so we have that mixed. I'm just gonna grab a spatula. We're gonna have to go back and forth with the mixer. Okay. Okay, now we have our like soft and sugar, eggs, and vanilla butter combined. We are going to go to the next step, which is adding the dry ingredients in here. So we're gonna start with our flour, because that's the most important thing. You should be doing like dry and wet, but sometimes you put your dry afterwards. So we need 3 cups of flour. Hopefully I have enough in here. So we need 3 cups of flour. I'm gonna mix a cup at a time. So I'm gonna mix it a cup at a time. So add a cup and then mix it. And then add another cup until you have your 3 cups. Okay. This flour is a nightmare. But we're gonna add the remains of everything else. So like the soda, baking soda. I think baking powder. No, just nope. No. So baking soda and yeah. So we're gonna add baking soda to the thing, and we need 1 teaspoon of that. Where's my teaspoon? So 1 teaspoon of soda, and my secret ingredient is cornstarch. Yes, it's weird, but it gives a really nice, it gives the cookies really nice light and like chewy center. And so I put like a teaspoon of that in, if I can get it out. Oh, there. And I put like the same amount as like soda or powder what the recipe asks, so like a teaspoon of that. And we're gonna mix this until almost combined, and we're gonna add the chips. Okay, so we have our dough really like well put together now, so we're gonna just dump these chocolate chips. I have a little left of the semi-sweet chocolate chips, so I'll put that in first just to get rid of this bag. And we have a bag of Hershey's milk chocolate chips. Scissors. And it calls for 2 cups, but I'm just going to dump them because who measures chocolate chips? And if I want to add more, I'll put more. So these are chocolate chips, and we're just going to fold the chips in there. This is really like intense dough, like this dough is very thick, but I think it'll be good once you have everything combined and the chocolate chips and stuff. I think you can add milk if it's too hard for you, just to help you, but or use your muscles. This is a good workout, this one, because you have to really mix in this dough and make sure all the flour is incorporated so you don't have no white patches. Because no one wants that in your dough, nor eat that. So what I do is scrape my spatula so all this stuff comes off, and then I go again. So I'm just gonna, and I'm not a professional, okay? I just know things. My grandma loves to bake. I do too, but I'm no professional, so that's why I don't make up my own recipes. I absolutely could. Okay, so we have our really tough dough, and now we're going to put that on a sheet and bake them. Because everything's recombined, there is a little flour. I'll try to avoid that. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do first is we're gonna put a little bit of chocolate chips in a cup, because I'm gonna decorate the cookies with a little more chocolate chips. So you don't have to do that, but a little more chocolate chips never hurts anyone. And I put everything away, as you can tell. There's no more ingredients on here. Okay. So we're gonna take our pans. I do one pan at a time, but you can do both. But I'm gonna do one at a time. So take your lovely cookie dough, which does look tasty enough to eat it. But we're not gonna eat it. This is for baking. And yep. So I take the cookie dough and I take an ice cream scoop. It could be small or large or however size you want for your cookies. I'm going to take a generous, that's very generous. I'm going to take half a scoop of cookie dough. I'm just going to place them onto my cooking sheet. I usually use my small scoop, but I can't find it, so just take your cookie dough and just scoop it onto here. Doesn't mean it's so even. But just make sure it's like half of the scoop. You can roll them if you want to, but I'm not gonna make that effort. I'm just gonna let them bake and go into round shapes themselves. I think it's because I didn't melt the butter. That is why the dough is so like thicker. Okay. We have our cookie dough on our tray. Very sticky dough. Hopefully they don't spread too much. I'm sure they will a little bit. They are cookies. And I'm going to try and make them into a little bit of rounds. Okay. We're gonna add more chocolate chips. So just press them on there. You can put 4, you can put 3. And I press them in there. I put 4 at least. And just make them. These chocolate chips are actually very small. But now they go in the oven. Oh. For how long? It says 11 to 13. And now we're gonna make the second pan. And now you do the second sheet, or not, depending if you put both of them in the same time. And a little trick that I asked my grandma once was, it always shows you 2 different times, like 11 to 13 or 10 to 12. I asked her, what time would you put it at? And she's like, always put it at the time that the first one it tells you. So like if it says 12 to 12 or 10 to 12, put it for 10 and then add if needed. So I put 11. If it needs a little more, then I add more. But only till 13. So if you bake it for 11, needs a bit more. Don't go over 13, which is 2 minutes. This cookie dough is so hard, but I guess that's what it expects when you actually don't melt your butter. And we're gonna have delicious cookies. Hope. If they do like expand and touch each other, it's not a big deal. It's not a biggie. Yeah. I mean, there's that trend now where you can freeze your cookie dough, which I've never seen in my life. And immediately you'll make it better, but I don't want to freeze these. I want to eat them. So I'm not going to freeze them, but you can if you wanted to. It says to up to 24 hours you can freeze them and put in the oven. I see that all everywhere now. Well, everywhere. You know, TikTok. Oh my god. You guys don't hear this, but I'm watching something on TV for a little background noise. called catfish, and it's insane. People do crazy things. You don't know that show? It's on MTV. And it's these two guys who help people think they got catfished. Which I've never have been. Hopefully never. Chocolate chips. So I'm gonna bake these cookies. And I'm gonna show you what it looks like out of the oven, and then I'm gonna cut that from there, and I'm gonna show you guys when everything is like on the plate or something. And yeah, but I'll show you what it looks like right out of the oven, and then I'm gonna cut that it off there, and I'll end it with showing you guys the cookies and everything on a plate, so it's not too long. And one tip, when you bake something, don't open the oven. I know a lot of people love to like look inside the oven and peek in, but if you do that, you risk the temperature dropping and otherwise not cooking your cookies or whatever you're baking. Because you just open the oven and let all the hot air out where the hot air is supposed to stay in the oven. So if you ever, unless you have an oven that doesn't have a window, you can open it a little bit, but make sure you close it like a second later, no more than 2 seconds. Because then the temperature will drop in the oven because you let the hot air out, and it will change your cook. It will not necessarily change it, but you're taking away the heat from the cookies, which the cookies need to bake. I see that in every show, and like I see that in all like cooking shows or like competitions, or like the people keep opening their ovens and the judges are like screaming, "Stop opening your oven! It's not gonna bake in time if you keep opening it." So if you do have a window, I suggest opening the oven light and just taking a look. And they're looking really nice so far in there. So please leave your oven door closed. Please. Unless you're adding something or putting something in, please keep your oven closed. Please. I've seen that so many times. It won't necessarily affect your cookies, but if you're baking something like longer, it will. Like puff pastry or something like that, keep your oven closed. If you're on a time crunch, keep the oven closed. Just leave the hot air in there for future reference, please. Okay. So I beeped. We're gonna look at the cookies and see if they're any close to being done. And by the looks of it, they are not. So, because they look very pale and not cooked at all. I don't know if you see, but they look very pale from where I am. So if they look pale, you can leave it for an extra few minutes. So I'm gonna put it for at least 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And when you go and do the next batches of cookies, add the time. So then it will, take the time to cook, to bake. So this is what they look like out of the oven. It's very hot, but these are what they look like. They're a bit pale. So the next batch, I'm going to put the oven a little higher, see what it does. But I'm going to leave these in a little more. Very pale. So I'm, like I said, I'm not a professional, and also this is baking, so things can go wrong. It's not necessarily going wrong, it's just the temperature or the time is not enough. So I'm just figuring out where to go now. But but as soon as the cookies are done, I'll come back and we'll see them together. My last batch of cookies, so those are baking. There's three and a half minutes left. But I'll show you what we have so far. Look at these. Look at this. Look at these delicious cookies. They're a little pale in the middle, but I think that's fine. They would probably tell me that it's a bit soft in the middle, but that's what you want with cookies. You want a chewy, nice, soft center and a crunchy edge. So I ended up baking my cookies at a higher temperature because they were taking way too long and not baking enough for my liking. So I put the temperature at 375 and I baked them for 11 minutes and they came out like that. I mean, you can stick to 350 like the original time if you have enough patience and time, but I don't really much have time because I don't live alone and people are walking around this part, so the quicker I got these done, the quicker they can walk around. Basically, I cleaned everything, so yeah. So I'll show you guys when these cookies are done. I'll take them out and show you, put them on the plate, and yeah, that'll be the finished product. I'm just going to move this sheet over here so I can bring these cookies over here on here so I can show you guys what they look like out of the oven. Yeah. I said at the beginning I'm gonna put the recipe website in the description down below. So you guys, if you want to make it or something like that, I will leave it for you guys down below. And if you want me to do more baking videos, maybe another cookie recipe or make brownies, something like that, leave a like and comment that you want another baking video and I'll do it. There's 12 seconds left. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's take these out. Whoa. Okay. It's not a whole sheet because I only had enough dough for 3. Okay. Oh, it's so like revealing and like so much like less stress now because I don't have to bake the rest. So these are the cookies that come out of the oven on the trays. This is piping hot. So I'm gonna leave these for like 2 minutes. And I'm gonna take them off the pan and add them to the plate of cookies. And it's been like probably 2 minutes. So now we're gonna put the cookies on the plate. These were so freaking difficult. Only because the butter wasn't melted. So I take a big spatula and I slip it and so the cookies don't crumble. And also it's hot. I don't want to burn myself again. And one more. Yeah, man, these ones are getting bam. Move this out of the way so I don't burn myself. I don't do that. Whee! And that is the cookies. Look how tasty they look. Right, Mom? They're very light in the middle, but I think that's better than being too brown because they're going to be chewy, soft and chewy in the middle. And crispy on the edges, which is what you want in a cookie. Right. So if you like this video, if you, like I said before, if you want me to do more of these baking videos, I will happily do that. So these are the chocolate chip cookies. So subscribe, leave a like, and see you guys in the next video.